Hi, welcome to Hey It Gets Better. I'm your host, Katie Watson. Today I'm joined by the amazing Laura Lane, who I had the pleasure to meet when I started blogging for her and her company, My Icon Story. Today, Laura and I chat about a range of things, from solo travelling and how you get the confidence to meet new people, to learning new things as Laura is now training to become a personal trainer and starting a new chapter in her life. Laura is such a strong woman, and I really want to thank her for opening up about a traumatic experience she had when starting her own business involving the website developer. The story of how she overcame this challenge and quite nasty behaviour that she had to experience only reflects just how strong she is, and I hope you guys all enjoy her episode. Hi Laura, thank you for coming on Hey It Gets Better.
No worries, glad to be here.
So for those of you who don't know, Laura Lane is the founder of My Icon Story, who I actually used to do a little bit of blogging for. And now you do you're trained to be a personal trainer, and you've got quite a lot going on. So would you just like to introduce yourself to everyone? Because I don't think I could cover it all.
Of course, yeah. So as Katie mentioned, I'm Laura Lane. And I first met Katie over LinkedIn, actually, when I was looking for some students to do some blogging for my business, My Icon Story. My Icon Story is a personalised gift platform, and we specialise in visual storytelling, capturing those special memories, moments, life challenges, and putting them into sort of visual arts prints that represent something personal to you. I started the company, probably about 5-ish years ago now. Prior to that, I worked for a media agency as their creative lead. So working with the likes of Netflix, Nivea, EE, Evian, so many different clients, and coming up with kind of cool campaign ideas. And it was during a sabbatical that I had off work that I started thinking about this thing that I wanted to do outside of work, which was visual storytelling and sort of creating personalised art prints for people. And my sabbatical actually was the inspiration for it, as I travelled to a number of different destinations on my own. So it was my first solo trip, and I went to Tokyo, Philippines, Borneo, Kuala Lumpur. It was pretty epic. And at the time, I was like, I'm so not a solo travel person. Why am I doing this? I just want to share the moment with someone. But then as the time went on, I really began to just enjoy my own company, and I loved the freedom it gave me, and the mental freedom just to think about what I wanted to do with my life. Even though I had a job and I loved working in sort of advertising and media, I always had a niggle in the back of my head that I wanted to do something for myself and run a business. So Eager Beaver came back off sabbatical, and then I think it was about a year later, or maybe even 6 months later after that sabbatical, I handed in my notice and decided to do My Icon Story full time.
Wow, that's such a nice story to hear, how you went traveling and you did come back with this sort of like revelation. It sounds a bit like Eat, Pray, Love kind of. But I do want to ask about solo traveling, because I always feel really anxious if I think about doing it, because I think it could seem quite scary, especially if you've never done anything like it before.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone maybe considering going solo traveling, or would you say anything to do specifically?
I think, as I said, it took me a little while to settle in and to sort of be comfortable with just being on my own, but it was the best thing I have ever done, because you're not relying on anyone else other than yourself. And you learn so much about who you are, how you handle things, how you approach different situations, having to, make temporary friends whilst you're traveling, and being comfortable in your own skin. The advice is kind of just to act. So you almost wear like a different hat, and you try and present, the best version of you in different scenarios. So I remember going to loads of different hostels and thinking, oh my gosh, all these cool people know each other, they're having loads of fun. I'm just like this little loner who knows no one. And I didn't really know how to approach people and say like, hey, can I just hang out with you? Because I'm on my own. But you just have to really, switch off your emotions and just like push through. And I remember I was sitting on a beach in the Philippines, and I saw these two girls like walking together, and they went and sat at this bar, and I was like, right, I'm just going to walk up there and ask them about their trip. Like, we must have something in common. They're on a trip, I'm on a trip. There'll be a conversation that comes off the back of this. So I just started walking up to them, and I was super nervous. And I was like, hey girls, just wondered, like, I'm on my own, and I just thought I'd come over and chat. And they must have thought, who is this girl? But it turns out, like, we had loads in common. They were from Essex as well. And I was like, oh, I'm from Essex. And then, it kind of carried on from there. And I think I clung on to them for like the next 4 days. And we went on this overnight camping boat trip and went for dinners. So it was really cool. And I think that was like the first hurdle for me to be like, do you know what? I can do this myself. I'm totally cool with it. And then after they left and moved on, I then felt comfortable like going to beaches or going to dinners on my own, or, you know, just being content.
Yeah.
And I got to the last place in Borneo, and I actually just didn't want to have to mingle and chat to people. I was like, no, I'm cool with just being myself. I don't mind it. It's fine. So I did.
That's brilliant. I think that hearing how amazing it was, because I when I think about it, I think, oh, who do I talk to? How would I talk to someone? But just to hear that someone else, you know, they were nervous before they did it, and then they did it, and you sound so confident when you talk about it. It's making me want to go traveling now, though. To
be honest, it's the same at uni. I remember like Freshers Week at uni, and I would see these groups of like girls or mixed groups and think, they all know, how do they all know each other? Oh my gosh, they're like really good friends. And, you know, no one knows each other, really. They've just met. It's all just, you know, a front. And I remember like speaking to uni friends sort of like, I don't know, years down the line, and saying how nervous I was at Freshers Week. And they were like, what? You came across so confident. We were intimidated by you. And I was like, you were intimidated by me. I was intimidated by everyone. Like, this is mad. But everyone's in the same boat. And I think that's just what you learn. It's just, you're not alone. Everyone's feeling something similar.
Yeah, that's really important, I think, to remind yourself about. And it definitely is something I think everyone feels when they first go to university. I felt it. I was like, okay, let me just put myself out there. I'm terrified. But, you know, it's normal to feel like that.
Completely.
You do end up, if you put yourself out there, you do end up with such amazing experiences.
Absolutely. And it's definitely shaped my career, my business, my outlook on things, and it's helped with confidence. Definitely. So back to your question of going solo traveling, 100%, it shapes you.
That's so amazing. And I do want to ask, because obviously creating your own business from scratch, you know, you went from a great job, you were employed, to being self-employed. There must have been some challenges along the way. It's not all glitz and glam like you see it on Instagram. There are definitely challenges to being your own boss that I'd love to talk about.
Sure. I could literally write a book about all the challenges of starting your own business. I think especially, you know, I've had people ask me, oh, you know, do you wish you'd gone straight into starting your own business out of uni, or are you glad that you worked first? And you know what, I don't think there's any right or wrong way of doing something, but what I will say is that working first, I learned so much, just with sort of like dealing with different people, dealing with different seniorities within the company, making contacts I then went on to later use for my own business. So kind of having that experience in a working environment and employment prior to starting my own business, I don't regret at all. It was the best thing that I did coming out of uni for me personally. The challenges along the way, first and foremost, you are left without a salary every month as soon as you leave employment, which was super hard. You know, I like to go out, I like to buy clothes, get my hair done, get my nails done. I'm like, you know, like any other girl, like the nicer things in life, holidays, you know, at the drop of a hat. But as soon as you start your own business, all of your priorities and all of your decisions are affected or are different. So yeah, money was a huge one. I thought I'd saved up enough money to get me through the first 6 months of unemployment whilst I was sort of developing the website for My Icon Story. And that quickly ran out within 3 months. And I was like, oops, what am I going to do now? So I took on some freelance work just to to keep paying for the business development. I've self-funded the whole business. I haven't loaned any money, haven't got any grants, haven't got any startup loans or anything like that, just self-funded it from my own work and savings, which I'm really proud of.
That's amazing.
It is. Some people might say, oh, why don't you just go get the money that you can go and get to sort of excel the business? But I think there's a lot of opinions about startups and if you should go and get investment and at what stage. And I just wanted to get under the grips of my own business first, do as much as I can myself, so I'm fully like involved in it. And then if and when I was ready to get investment, then go down that path. But yes, challenges. Oh my gosh. You know what? I think just rushing into things. I'm a bit impatient, so I like to just get things done. And if I've got a vision for something and I get excited about it, like I will be fixated upon it for the next sort of like 2 weeks in depth and just like proper go for it, and make rash decisions rather than taking things slow and maybe making more informed decisions. That's a definite challenge. Website has had many challenges. Like everyone knows, technology fails you at the best of times. So I had a number of issues with the website, whether it's customers not being able to go through checkout or duplicating orders or just not working properly. And I think it's quite nice actually, because people assume that, you know, there's a ton of people working behind the scenes on like this, you know, big e-commerce website. And it's just little old me, like solo band member, doing everything. So that's kind of like a challenge in itself, is because I don't have any staff and I do everything. You're kind of like juggling 1,000 things at once, which isn't the best. Stick to what you're good at and then find other people, bring them in to do the things that you need help with. I could literally go on and on about challenges, but I don't want to bore the crowd.
I remember you, I think you spoke about this on the Found and Flourish podcast about a problem you had with the website and kind of being taken a bit...
The developer.
Yeah, kind of being taken for a bit of a mug by that developer.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you'd like to talk about that, because I feel like everyone's kind of been in a position in life where someone has kind of, you know, taken their naivety and taken advantage of them a bit.
Yeah, completely.
And it is wrong, and it's hard to know what to do when you find yourself in that position.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've battled with that. I would call it a trauma in, you know, setting up the business. I've battled with that for a good few years since it happened, just mentally and physically, because for the audience listening, basically what happened is I put my trust in this developer. He was introduced to me as a good source from an IP lawyer that I knew. So I was like, it's got to be legit. That's cool. He knows what he's doing. I've seen some examples of his work, and he was recommended. So I went with it. And first year in development was fine. There was a few little niggles along the way with this particular developer where he made me feel quite inferior. And obviously I'm not a developer, so I don't speak the language, but I've done a couple of like coding in a day courses, so I do get some of the lingo and the tech that goes behind it. But he would often belittle me and my, I guess, vision and opinions, as he's the expert, and, you know, everything he says, you know, is legit, you know, God-given.
Yeah.
So that kind of pissed me off quite a lot, because I was like, don't try and make me feel lesser to you, just because, you know, this is your forte. So anyway, there were little things along the way that kind of annoyed me. But the real crux of it was after I had my first Christmas of the website being live. Now, Christmas for any e-com and gifting business is like the biggest sales period in the calendar year. And it was My Icon Story's first Christmas. We got 2 pieces of PR in the Metro in the weeks leading up, and literally smashed 100, 150 orders in the space of 2 weeks. I was like, mind blown. Wow, this is amazing. I've made it. Like, it's going to be brilliant. This business is going to rock. The developer who built the site clearly saw some pound signs as well. And when I went back to him in the new year and said, oh, I've got a few things that I want to develop on the website. I've got these ideas, you know, want to kind of scope out the project and the work. he then started becoming quite, I don't know, too involved basically in my decisions in my business, and then turned around and said that I don't own the code to my own website and that he owned it. And I remember like my stomach literally sinking and thinking, what are you talking about? And he said I wouldn't be able to work with any other developer, that if I sold my business, the website wouldn't go with it because I basically would have to license the code from him.
Wow.
And I just, all these things started stacking up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got myself into a real pickle here. I feel trapped. And then he started to get quite nasty when I was, you know, I guess coming back at him with questions.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
And it really affected my mental health, and I couldn't sleep for weeks. The emails that I got, the kind of the snide remarks in WhatsApps and messages like, you better not be going to another developer, that'd be really rude, and just little things that all sort of stacked up. And yeah, I got quite ill from it, and it really affected me. So even to speak about it now, I get quite like, choked up about it, because it was a real bad time. And we had lawyers get involved, and he was threatening me, and, you know, it wasn't nice.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was, I don't know, like 27.
Yeah, so you are young.
So it was quite a lot, 27, 28, it was like quite a lot to deal with. And having never done it before, I was just like, shit, I don't know what to do. I don't want to lose my business. I don't want to lose my website. How can I go forward? So yeah, some big challenges, but some big learnings along the way that kind of like shaped me as a businesswoman going forward, to not be shat all over by someone else.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it's important as well to say that you have built such a brilliant business. My Icon Story is fantastic. Like, the creativity, the website right now is amazing, and what you offer is brilliant. And I think it's really important to know that at the end of all that horrible experiences, that you've come out with something really amazing.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, really. Like, I always knew that I wanted to get it to where it is, but I definitely didn't anticipate the roller coaster along the way. And I think that's just sort of, you know, naivety of never having done it before. But yeah, I'm immensely proud, and, you know, challenges and, you know, trauma along the way kind of make or break you, and this definitely made me, and it's made me a much stronger person in business. So it's definitely been a massive learning curve.
You definitely come across as really confident and like you know what you're doing, and you seem like a really empowered woman, which is great to hear from someone who's about 21. Hearing the fact that you've come through this and you're at the other end now and you're stronger than ever, it's so good to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Definitely, because it is important. I think it's sad, but there are quite toxic people in businesses.
Yep.
And especially when you are starting out, it can be very easy to sort of be taken for a bit of a mug, to have decisions made for you, really.
Definitely.
And I think it's important to know that you it's hard to stand up for yourself and really put up a fight, but it's so important.
Yeah, you just got to hold on to your values and your beliefs. And, you know, I was never one to kind of be walked all over. So when red flags started to crop up and I wasn't comfortable, I knew I had to make a change and do something different and, you know, control the situation. So, you know, to kind of briefly finish the story, I basically got in touch with a completely different web developer behind this guy's back, had the site completely remade with bespoke code, so nothing was copied over from the original website, so he had nothing to come back at me with. And then that took about 3-4 months in the background. Whether he knew I was doing that or not, didn't really care at the time. I was like, I've just got to get out of this like relationship. And then the switch over happened, and I felt like I was set free, and I had this, you know, new site, my code, I owned it, and nothing was going to kind of stop me or get in my way going forward.
That's absolutely brilliant. And, you know, like all businesses, there are times where it's not going well. You know, you have dips after sales and things like that. And like you said, especially when you're self-employed, you are the one who gives yourself your own salary. How did you go through those sort of dips in sales, or when things weren't developing as much as you want? How did you kind of go through those periods where you aren't really living the kind of like entrepreneur dream of, you know, PR, press releases, your Instagram's on fire, you're on holiday all the time? Because it's not like that.
Yeah, it's definitely not like that. And I used to do the awful thing of like comparing myself to every other like business owner on Instagram, and, you know, oh my gosh, look how well that person's doing, or look how far this person's gone, or how much they're growing. And do you know what? You're on your own journey. And it took me a while to learn and be comfortable and accept that. And I think it's just like the Instagram age, isn't it? Where even if you're not an entrepreneur or business owner, you compare yourself to everyone and everything. It's become sort of second nature, right?
For sure.
So I kind of taught myself to not compare and not look. Remember that I'm on my own journey. I've got my own business. Everyone's business is completely different. And Instagram is just a window of, you know, glam, and it's not reality. You only post the things you want people to see, right?
Yeah.
So I just kind of removed myself a little bit from it. I mean, I'm the first to say I will post all the good stuff about the business, because, you know, you're proud. So you want to show what, you know, how well things are going and what you're doing. But at the same time, like doing things like this podcast and the Found and Flourish one, and interviews with like mags and blogs, I've been very open about the ups and downs and the struggles, and it's not all like, you know, glitz and glam. But to get through it, you have to have a strong backbone and just be able to pick yourself back up. I've been, you know, when there's been sort of like really low times where, I don't know, you haven't had any sales in like two weeks, even a month maybe, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, why am I putting myself through this? You just have to let yourself be in that low moment for however long you need to be. It's okay to be feeling low and feeling like shit. It doesn't mean you're a lesser person or a less businesswoman. Everyone has those emotional up and down. And I found a pattern in myself of when those are and when they come up. And I know that I can just ride through that wave. And often I'll just have to pick myself back up. It's almost just like, let yourself sulk for a little bit, feel sorry for yourself, then pick yourself back up, dust it off, and then crack on. Because you're never going to get anything else done if you're still in that kind of like mentality and sort of low mode, which I know, but we all like to wallow a little bit, don't we, in our own self-pity. So I've just learned to snap myself out of it when I'm ready to, and I've accepted it's okay to feel like that when it does happen.
For sure. And I think it is really important what you're saying is to let yourself feel it, because if you don't, you just repress it, and that can have really bad consequences.
Definitely.
And I think it's so important that you're telling people you did feel like it and you let yourself feel it. You didn't try and repress it.
Yeah. And also it's okay to press the pause button. So I'd always be like striving for the next thing, or constantly thinking about, right, a new product range, or need new content, or need to post this, or got to grow this part of the business. And you know what? As soon as you press the pause button and have time just to be with yourself, reflect, you can then just like readjust yourself, reset, and then come back fresher with new eyes, bit more clarity and more drive. So it's good to have those pause moments.
Yeah, I think that's really, really clever the way you say it, because I feel like that sometimes when I'm just like, I need to keep going. If I don't keep going, if I stop, I'm going to be failing. If I'm not doing anything, if I'm not going to the next step, I'm just, not doing good. But then, you can't do that all the time. You will burn out. And it's something I think everyone faces, particularly with the pressures of social media. It seems like everyone is always on the next thing. And it's quite hard.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to pause a lot more now.
Definitely. It's my new thing.
And you've kind of taken a bit of a different career journey as well along because of lockdown, which is so impressive.
Yeah. It's so there's kind of two things, I guess. So again, for the audience, I've been, alongside my icon story, I have taken on freelance work, and at a number of different sort of like PR agencies or creative studios, back at my old agency, and just to kind of pay the bills and to kind of keep level. And over the last year and a half, I've been working with a particular company called Studio Blup on a freelance basis, and I've actually decided to take on a full-time role with the company just because they've got cool values. I really get on with the founding members, and I've really enjoyed my time over the last 18 months with them. And, you know, I think being able to come to that decision has been a difficult one, because I never wanted to feel like I've failed my icon story or not got it to where I wanted to get it to. But at the same time, you've got to be realistic, and happiness comes first. And I feel like I'm in a good place with my icon and like personal life and, you know, and work now with Studio Blup.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. That itself's been a roller coaster. But at the same time, yes, I've also decided to train to become a personal trainer, which I started midway through lockdown because I had that time just to pause and reflect.
Yeah.
So lockdown gave me a really good opportunity to pause and reflect on my icon story, look at what was going well, look at what I actually enjoyed most about the business, and revisit why I started it. And I've kind of refined what I want my icon story to be. And I want it to go back to being all about, you know, creating those visual stories of people's memories and moments in their life that are special. Whereas over the last couple of years, I've been doing sort of other little products and adding things into the website, and, you know, they're all good, and I've worked with some amazing brands, but the crux of why I started my icon story is to be able to tell people's stories in a beautiful visual way. So that's what I'm going back to. I'm stripping it back, and it's now allowed me the time to do something else and, you know, follow another passion of mine, which is fitness. So I've always been a bit of a gym fanatic ever since uni days, and I did athletics when I was younger for the district. So I've always been sporty, always loved it. But yeah, finally now I have the time and the capacity to do something with it. So I'm training to be a PT.
Yeah. It's amazing. I think I see your balcony workouts on Instagram and I just think, okay, Laura's on fire. She's, you know, she is really good at this. And because I saw you used to do feather beats.
Yes.
Is that where you used to work out?
Yeah.
And I'd see that and I thought, okay, she can really, you know, like lift really heavy stuff. And then I just saw you over lockdown posting more, and I just kept thinking, you are really, really good at this.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite nice. Now you have actual time to properly become a personal trainer and pursue it.
Yeah, and you know what? It also goes to show that it's never too late to change what you want to do with your life. I've changed like 3 times. Like I worked in media and advertising, then I started my own business. Now I'm doing PTing. Like there is no right or wrong path, and you can do whatever you want, and you can change at whatever time that works within, you know, your current moment in time. And I feel like this has come to me at a certain time, so I'm going to follow it. And yeah, I really enjoy it. So you've got to do what you enjoy, right? So why not?
Yeah. I think as well, you are really good, from what I know about you as well, about teaching yourself things. Because I know when you first started My Icon Story, you taught yourself how to do all the graphics and everything. And now you're teaching yourself how to be a personal trainer. And I think you're a really good example of the fact that you do never stop learning, even when you finish university.
That's it, yeah. Do you know what the biggest thing when I finished uni was like, I feel like I need to be reading a textbook or some kind of, I don't know, something to learn. I really, really missed learning when I started work. And actually that's how the whole My Icon Story thing really came about, because we were given this like learning fund at my agency. I think you got like £500 to basically learn something or do something that you wanted to do. So I decided to do an Adobe Illustrator design course, because I always wanted to learn how to, you know, use that kind of software. And then from then, I self-taught myself how to design icons for buildings and landmarks and things and objects. And that's kind of how the passion for designing these small icons that now become My Icon Story began.
And that's so amazing, because like, you don't need to be in a classroom to learn. I think that idea is, it's so old fashioned, especially with the internet. You can learn anywhere, and you can learn anything. And I think you're a really good example of that.
Oh, thank you. It's just fun. Like, yeah, I like to soak up knowledge and do something with it, and just keep active. I get bored really easily, you can probably tell. So it's probably why I've darted around so much. But yeah, I do get bored quite easily, and I like to be active. Like, if it's a Saturday or a Sunday and I'm not doing anything, I'm like, I need to be doing something. Why am I just sitting here doing nothing? I get really frustrated with just being still.
Yeah, I just like to give you the final question, sort of the opportunity for you to really give some advice or just say something to anyone who does feel a bit like their life isn't where they want it to be right now. They thought it would be a lot better by this point. They thought they'd probably found their dream career, or they'll be, they'd had their dream job, and that kind of feeling where it's like, oh, this, I'm in a bit of a rut. What would you say to anyone who just feels like that right now?
I would simply say you are the driver of your own destiny. There is no right or wrong. If you're not satisfied with how things are going, then only you can make that change. Only you can make the decision to do something different, to find an opportunity and to make those things happen. Nothing comes on your lap. You have to go out and get it. And I think that's what I've learned, is even with with business like My Icon Story, I thought as soon as I had the website up and live, customers would come flocking, and they don't. You've got to go and grab them. You've got to go and get them. You've got to graft. And I think for everyone listening, things just don't happen overnight. You've got to graft, put in the legwork, and make things happen for yourself, because no one's going to do it for you.
Thank you so much for that, Laura, and thank you so much for chatting today. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, I hope it was all right. I feel like I might have rambled, but yeah, it's been amazing to be featured on here. And I'd just like to say thank you to Katie, who, you've been a massive support to me and My Icon Story, with the blogging, having that kind of support network. You guys who did the blogging for My Icon last year and this year came at a really good time for me, and I really needed that kind of, that extra support of people helping and supporting the brand of business. So massive thank you to you.
Anytime. And I think it just shows that sometimes, it's okay to reach out for help.
Absolutely. Yes, that would be the other piece of advice. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and use and abuse your contacts as and when needed. I was very, I would always not want to ask for help. I'd want to do everything myself. And then you get to a point where you're like, no, it's okay to ask for help and be vulnerable. So yeah, that's the last bit.
Thank you, Laura, for talking to me today. And thank you for everyone for listening. It means a lot to me that so many of you have been listening to Hey It Gets Better. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's messaged me with their support. It means so much for me to read these messages. If you want to support Hey It Gets Better, then please share us with your friends, like us on Apple Podcasts, and give us a review. You can find us on Instagram at Hey It Gets Better. I hope you guys have an amazing week. And remember, hey, it gets better.